Hi, I'm going to be sharing a series of how to strengthen different body parts. This first one, so it's going to be several series. This first one is about core strengthening. And when we talk about strengthening core, it means everything from the rib cage kind of down to the top of the thighs. So we're working on hip flexors, abdominal muscles, and the back muscles, all of this area. And people tend to be weak here because of lifestyle. So if you're sitting a lot, which a lot of us do, at work or school, this area is often not in use. And also a big part of it is how you sit. So for example, if you're leaning back on a chair or you're not having good posture, this area is becoming weak because you're doing that for many hours in the day. So I will also be talking about posture, because posture not only is important in and of itself for your comfort and the health of your body and appearance, but also posture helps us to keep these areas strong. If we're having the right posture, we are constantly using them in the proper way to keep them strong and healthy. Another reason why people lose strength in this area is childbirth or abdominal surgery, or surgery in that area like the hips, for example. So what can happen is there's an event that causes you to lose access temporarily to those muscles. So if you're pregnant, for example, the muscles of the abdominal muscles are pushed to the side, and we're using them more on the sides, but not so much in the front. If you have a surgery and something is cut, like in your hip, for example, then you would lose access to that for some time. And then if it's not properly regained, so physical therapy is being used a lot more. So fortunately, that's happening less and less, but especially in childbirth, unfortunately, there is not as much emphasis on properly rebuilding. And what can happen too is that somebody is, for example, after giving birth, they think that, okay, I'm just going to go back to what I did right before. And usually we need something in the interim, because when you're building strength, anywhere in the body really, if you go too far too fast, you can cause injury, or it can backfire in other ways. So if that is the case for you, and even if, for example, you had children 20 years ago, you may never have properly rebuilt. You might still need to start at the lowest level, or just if you've been weak because you've been working in an office and sitting a lot and you haven't really worked on this area. So this series, on the first one that I'm doing on core strengthening, is going to start at a very, very gentle level and then work its way up. And these are short practices, so you can do them just for one at a time, and you can see how it feels. And I would also recommend waiting a day or two to see how it feels, because sometimes when you're doing something, it doesn't feel like much, especially with core strengthening. That can happen. It doesn't feel like you're doing much, but then the next day you have all kinds of soreness everywhere, and that can be a good soreness as long as you're not like terribly in pain. But it can be a good soreness because the muscles are being challenged and you're growing them. But at the same time, we don't want to overdo that, because that can cause injury as well. So if you are feeling soreness like the day after doing a routine, give yourself a day or two for that soreness to dissipate before you do it again. And then what you want to do is work your way up until that doesn't happen anymore and that routine feels easy to you, and then you go on to the next one. So if you do the first one, next 2 days you don't feel anything, it felt super easy, go ahead and go on to the next one right away. If not, if it feels like that was challenging, then stick with it until you feel ready to not be challenged with it anymore, and then you go on to the next one. All right, so I hope this feels good for you. Namaste.